Hello, everyone.
Hello.
I'm really high. I'm stoned. Nikki's stoned. We're gonna talk about some very interesting topics, including consciousness, experience, dreams, right? And would you like to ask me something first, or should I ask you something first?
Let's flip a coin.
Okay.
Flip a piece of paper.
How do we know?
This is you ask me first. This is I ask you first.
Okay. Oh, I have to ask you first.
Yeah.
Okay, so in my Nikki Zarek interview notes here, I got the first bullet point. What do you think is the nature of reality?
Wow. That's a punch to start off with. All right. Okay.
Because I've recently come upon a pretty strong answer for myself here, I think, and I'm very curious to hear your opinion on it.
I would first start by saying I don't have a strong idea of what reality is for myself. It sounds like you have a more solid idea of what you do, and I think reality to me, when I think about reality or issues related to reality, I see a big mystery with lots of like small splotches of known material. And there's this big web that connects, but most of the web I can't see. That's what I see when I see reality. And there's more dimensions to that web where there's like, you could say things going on behind the scenes. But there's relationships that aren't necessarily.
And I think throughout your whole life you're constantly adding to that web as you learn and grow, right?
Yeah. Everyone is, and human thought as
a whole, as a species.
Yeah, exactly.
And particularly as a culture, right? Like they were working on this in like India and China a lot before they were in Europe, so they got a head start on that, building that cultural part, you know?
Yeah, and I think every culture has a little bit of a different keyhole that they see through, you know?
Yeah. I heard one time it described that the Europeans saw reality as a creation by God. The Indians saw reality as a great play that reality was putting on. And
that's interesting.
The Chinese saw it, or I cannot remember what the Chinese saw it as, but there's that distinction there, and I thought that was interesting.
The idea of the universe performing for us is really striking to me.
I love that.
I've never considered it that way, you know, but
Really?
it really does perform for us.
I got this from an Alan Watts lecture on YouTube. That's like a really important conception of you know the idea that everything in the universe is like the same, you know, all is one, like that typical idea from like Indian religions.
For sure.
It's kind of like why anything at all, just a singular question mark, why?
Yeah.
Like why anything? Like why does anything even exist? Why anything? So the idea I was kind of getting from Alan Watts was that Indian religions address this as like reality and consciousness are like the same thing, and they just are. They just exist. It's like a one instead of a zero. Like there just is reality and consciousness. Yeah, exactly. And then when there's no alternative for reality and consciousness to exist, like if you were reality and consciousness itself, which you are because we all are and everything is, what would you do? Would you not have a world that exists and for things to happen in, or would you want to just arbitrarily create just so that there was, because you are, because reality and consciousness exist, you want things to be, you know? So fundamentally you just create and put on this entire play of reality just to entertain yourself.
I think you could say why to that as well. I mean, you could play the why game and ask as many whys, but you also
But the answer is always why not.
Right, that's always the go-to answer that I think we as I don't know if it's the nature of life to want to procreate and proliferate and be fruitful. I don't know if that's a property of matter in general, because it would seem that the universe wants to proliferate and expand into everything else.
Yeah,
The
that's a
universe is
good point.
expanding.
Yeah, that's a good point. The universe
But you have
is
to beg
expanding.
the question, why? Well, what are the differences between there is and there is not? There is
That's true.
has so many more questions that you can ask about if it is. Like there's just the whole universe of questions, as opposed to there's not. There's nothing to ask about, nothing. You know, so if nothing existed,
True.
obviously
I'm with
nothing
you.
could perceive that. So you might argue that it's a question of complexity, and there is, because the universe is infinite complexities becoming more complex. Because there's always the why you can ask. There's always more questions you can ask.
Yeah, the universe is like almost fractally, like infinitely complex in anything that you could even attempt to describe about it.
Exactly. And I think that, to bring it back to the original question of what is reality, I think that infinite complexification, if that's a word, I don't know.
Yeah.
Compounding complexion.
I'm really understanding your idea.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I think that would be. That's not what I meant to say initially, but I kind of looped back around to that.
No, it's
I think that's the perfect description of reality.
It's so perfect. I'm like imagining it because I'm stoned probably, but like I'm imagining it visually as you say, like a fractal, like a black and white like fractal zooming video, but the fractal, the lines are all the question of why, like a branching tree of whys and why not.
I can see that now.
That's literally how I was thinking about it. You described it. Man, I think that we got that covered really well.
Yeah.
Okay, do you want to?
That's my perception of reality.
Did you have anything else to say before we move on, or do you want to ask one of yours?
Did you? Because I felt like I answered a lot. I mean, you had a lot of thoughts as well, but I don't know if there's something you wanted to cap your answer with.
I suppose just that. I think just in general, like you said, that's a really interesting idea of reality. That everything is just a play. You know, it's just, and that kind of motivates my personal, I don't know, like lifestyle philosophy, I guess. It's kind of like a YOLO thing, you know? It's just like this is it, you know, this is all that is. Like, so why not experience as much of it as I can, you know?
To a certain extent, I think you can be entertained by reality.
Yes, I feel very entertained by reality. That's a great way of putting it.
Excellent. Well, I think that was a very cool conversation, so I guess it's my turn to ask a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Let's see, which was my...
Did you remember to start a timer, by the way?
No, I did not.
And your battery is low!
Oh,